Ladies and gentlemen, we've all walked through seasons where our hearts held on long after someone let go. Maybe you're sitting here today, silently carrying memories like old photographs you can't seem to throw away. And you ask yourself, why can't I move on? Why do I still feel connected to someone who's no longer here? Let me tell you something powerful. You are not alone in this. And more importantly, you are not powerless in this. Today, I want to share 5 secrets that will set you free. Secret 1, acknowledge the emotional residue. The human mind clings to the familiar, not because it's good for us, but because it's known. Sometimes, it's not the person you miss, it's how you felt when you were with them. Recognize that what you're attached to is often an emotion, not a person. And once you realize that, you take the first step towards freedom. Secrets 2, separate your identity from the relationship. So many of us entwine our sense of self with someone else's presence in our lives. But you existed before them, and you will flourish after them. Who you are is not defined by who stayed or who left. When you unhook your self-worth from their validation, you reclaim your power. Secrets 3, become the observer of your emotion. Your mind will replay old scenes like reruns of a series you've already watched, and every time you feel the same pain. But what if you became the observer, not the actor? Notice the thought, acknowledge the memory, then gently release it. Meditation, journaling, and conscious breathing. These are your tools. Secret 4, forgiveness is your liberation, not their pardon. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about choosing peace over poison. When you carry anger or sadness for someone who left, it's like drinking poison and expecting them to suffer. Release it for your own healing, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Secrecy 5, ritualize your closure. The mind respects rituals. Write a letter to them, not to send, but to say what was left unsaid. Burn it, tear it up. Let the ashes or pieces be a symbol of your new chapter. Closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. In the end, remember this. What you've lost was a chapter, not your whole book. The love you seek is not in a memory, it's within you, waiting to be reclaimed, nurtured, and shared with a world far bigger than one person's absence. Your past was a lesson, your present is a choice, and your future is unwritten. One of the most overlooked truths about lingering attachments after a breakup is that, more often than not, what we're holding on to isn't the person themselves, it's the emotion we associate with them. Human beings are creatures of habit, and our minds are wired to cling to what feels familiar. In relationships, certain emotions become deeply intertwined with the presence of another person. Love, comfort, validation, excitement, and even pain create emotional imprints that linger long after the person is gone. It's not always the individual you miss. It's the way they made you feel about yourself in certain moments. Think about it for a moment. When your mind drifts back to them, is it truly their personality, their habits, or their daily routines you long for? Or is it the way you felt when you were around them? Safe, desired, cared for, or simply not alone? This distinction is crucial because it opens a doorway to healing. Once you realize that your attachment is more about emotions than the actual person, you begin to see that those emotions can be nurtured and experienced again independently of them. Our brains are masterful storytellers. After a breakup, they often idealize the past, amplifying the good memories while dulling the painful ones. It's a coping mechanism designed to soothe us, but can end up trapping us in a cycle of nostalgia. That's why you might find yourself replaying certain moments over and over, convincing yourself that no one else will make you feel that way again. But here's the truth. The emotions you experienced came from within you. The other person may have been the trigger, but the feeling was born inside you. And if it was created once, it can be created again. Understanding this shifts the power dynamic. It reminds you that you are not at the mercy of your memories or emotions. You have the ability to generate new experiences, new emotions, and new connections. But first, you must gently acknowledge what you're really holding on to. Is it the way they made you laugh on difficult days? The feeling of being wanted? The comfort of knowing someone was always a phone call away? Identify the emotion beneath the memory. Once you pinpoint what you're actually attached to, you can start seeking healthy, constructive ways to fulfill those emotional needs. Maybe it's reconnecting with old hobbies, nurturing friendships, investing in self-care, or embracing solitude as a path to self-discovery. It might involve therapy, meditation, or journaling to better understand your inner landscape. The key is to move from unconscious clinging to conscious awareness. Ultimately, acknowledging the emotional residue allows you to heal with clarity. It transforms vague, persistent longing into specific, addressable feelings. You stop chasing a ghost and start tending to your own heart. And in doing so, you reclaim your ability to find peace, joy, and love within yourself without needing to look backward. When a relationship ends, it often leaves behind more than just memories. It leaves behind fragments of our identity that had become entangled with the other person. We don't just lose a partner, we lose a version of ourselves that existed in the reflection of that relationship. Many people find themselves asking, who am I without them? Because during the relationship, their sense of worth and identity slowly became intertwined with how that other person treated them, validated them, or acknowledged them. Recognizing and unraveling this attachment is one of the most essential steps toward emotional freedom. It's natural for people to define themselves through relationships. From childhood, we're conditioned to seek connection, approval, and validation from others. Parents, friends, teachers, and eventually romantic partners. Over time, we start using these relationships as mirrors, believing that how others see us is a reflection of our value. In a romantic relationship, this tendency can intensify because of the emotional closeness involved. When someone constantly praises you, makes you feel loved, or even makes decisions for you, it's easy to start seeing yourself through their eyes. The danger in this comes when the relationship becomes a central part of your identity. You begin to define yourself by your role in their life, as their partner, their support system, their admirer. Their opinion, attention, and presence become the measuring stick for your self-worth. And when they leave, it feels like they've taken a part of you with them. That's why breakups can feel like not only a loss of love, but a loss of self. But here's the truth. You existed before them, and you are still whole without them. Your identity, your essence, your value, none of it depends on whether someone chooses to stay or go. Who you are is rooted in qualities that are independent of anyone's presence or absence. Your kindness, creativity, resilience, humor, intelligence, and compassion are yours. They belong to you and existed long before anyone else entered the picture. Separating your identity from the relationship means acknowledging that you are not defined by the role you played in someone else's story. You are the author of your own. And though relationships are meaningful chapters in that story, they are not the entire book. When you reclaim your identity, you begin to realize that the things you loved about yourself during the relationship weren't gifts from the other person. They were always yours. This process involves consciously reflecting on who you were before the relationship, what you value, what brings you joy, and what makes you feel alive. It means spending time with yourself, not to fill a void, but to rediscover the richness of your own company. It's about building an identity that stands strong on its own, so future relationships become beautiful additions to your life, not essential definitions of it. When you make peace with this truth, you'll find that your sense of self no longer shatters when someone walks away, because it was never theirs to hold in the first place. One of the most important skills you can develop when healing from a past relationship is the ability to observe your emotions without becoming consumed by them. After a breakup, it's natural for certain thoughts and feelings to resurface repeatedly. You might find yourself reliving old conversations, reminiscing about special moments, or even dwelling on arguments and regrets. The mind tends to loop these memories, creating an emotional trap that feels inescapable. But the truth is, you have the power to break this cycle, not by forcing yourself to forget, but by learning to witness your emotions with awareness. When you experience a wave of sadness, anger, or longing, the instinctive reaction is either to suppress it or get carried away by it. Both responses, however, keep you stuck. Suppression causes those emotions to resurface later, often with more intensity, while indulging in them reinforces the emotional attachment to the past. The middle path is to become an observer. This means recognizing when an emotion arises, naming it, and acknowledging it without judgment. For example, when you notice yourself missing your ex or replaying a painful memory, instead of saying, "Why am I still thinking about this? I should be over it," simply observe the thought. "I'm feeling nostalgic right now," or "I'm experiencing sadness." By labeling the emotion, you create a small but powerful distance between yourself and the feeling. It's no longer consuming you. It's something you're noticing, like a cloud passing in the sky. This practice, often rooted in mindfulness and meditation, helps you develop emotional awareness. Emotional awareness doesn't mean you'll stop having difficult feelings. It means you'll respond to them with compassion and clarity rather than impulse. You learn to sit with discomfort, knowing that it's temporary and doesn't define you. You understand that a thought about your ex is just that, a thought, not a command, and certainly not a reflection of your worth. To strengthen this skill, consider setting aside a few moments each day for quiet reflection or journaling. Write down what you're feeling and what triggered it. Notice patterns. Do certain places, songs, or times of day bring up memories? Are there particular emotions you tend to avoid? By becoming familiar with these emotional triggers, you can prepare for them, meet them with understanding, and gradually reduce their hold over you. Another effective technique is conscious breathing. When you feel overwhelmed by emotion, pause and take a few deep breaths. Focus on the rise and fall of your chest. This simple act anchors you in the present moment, pulling you out of mental loops about the past. It reminds you that while emotions are valid and real, they are also impermanent. Becoming the observer of your emotions isn't about detachment or indifference. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom. The freedom to choose how you respond, the freedom to let go when it's time, and the freedom to reconnect with yourself on a deeper, wiser level. One of the most important skills you can develop when healing from a past relationship is the ability to observe your emotions without becoming consumed by them. After a breakup, it's natural for certain thoughts and feelings to resurface repeatedly. You might find yourself reliving old conversations, reminiscing about special moments, or even dwelling on arguments and regrets. The mind tends to loop these memories, creating an emotional trap that feels inescapable. But the truth is, you have the power to break this cycle, not by forcing yourself to forget, but by learning to witness your emotions with awareness. When you experience a wave of sadness, anger, or longing, the instinctive reaction is either to suppress it or get carried away by it. Both responses, however, keep you stuck. Suppression causes those emotions to resurface later, often with more intensity, while indulging in them reinforces the emotional attachment to the past. The middle path is to become an observer. This means recognizing when an emotion arises, naming it, and acknowledging it without judgment. For example, when you notice yourself missing your ex or replaying a painful memory, instead of saying, "Why am I still thinking about this? I should be over it," simply observe the thought. "I'm feeling nostalgic right now," or "I'm experiencing sadness." By labeling the emotion, you create a small but powerful distance between yourself and the feeling. It's no longer consuming you, it's something you're noticing, like a cloud passing in the sky. This practice, often rooted in mindfulness and meditation, helps you develop emotional awareness. Emotional awareness doesn't mean you'll stop having difficult feelings. It means you'll respond to them with compassion and clarity rather than impulse. You learn to sit with discomfort, knowing that it's temporary and doesn't define you. You understand that a thought about your ex is just that, a thought, not a command, and certainly not a reflection of your worth. To strengthen this skill, consider setting aside a few moments each day for quiet reflection or journaling. Write down what you're feeling and what triggered it. Notice patterns. Do certain places, songs, or times of day bring up memories? Are there particular emotions you tend to avoid? By becoming familiar with these emotional triggers, you can prepare for them, meet them with understanding, and gradually reduce their hold over you. Another effective technique is conscious breathing. When you feel overwhelmed by emotion, pause and take a few deep breaths. Focus on the rise and fall of your chest. This simple act anchors you in the present moment, pulling you out of mental loops about the past. It reminds you that while emotions are valid and real, they are also impermanent. Becoming the observer of your emotions isn't about detachment or indifference. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom. The freedom to choose how you respond, the freedom to let go when it's time, and the freedom to reconnect with yourself on a deeper, wiser level. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood concepts when it comes to healing from a breakup. Many people resist the idea because they believe that forgiving someone means excusing their behavior or inviting them back into their lives. In reality, forgiveness has little to do with the other person and everything to do with your own peace of mind. It is a personal act of liberation, a conscious decision to release yourself from the grip of resentment, anger, and pain that ties you to the past. When someone hurts you, whether through betrayal, neglect, or rejection, it leaves an emotional wound. And like any wound, if it's left unattended, it can fester, growing deeper and more toxic over time. Resentment and bitterness might feel justified at first. You might tell yourself that holding on to anger protects you from being hurt again, or that it's a way of holding the other person accountable. But in truth, carrying these emotions is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will suffer from it. The person you're angry at may have moved on, but the weight of those unresolved feelings remains with you, quietly affecting your thoughts, emotions, and relationships. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It doesn't require you to reach out to the person or reestablish any kind of connection. What it means is that you are choosing to release yourself from the control those past events have over your emotional well-being. It's about acknowledging what happened, accepting the pain it caused, and then deciding not to let that pain dictate your present and future. This is not an overnight process. Forgiveness often unfolds gradually as you process your emotions and gain new perspectives on the situation. It begins by recognizing the heavy emotional burden you're carrying. Ask yourself what holding on to this anger or sadness is costing you. How does it show up in your daily life? Is it affecting your peace, your health, or your ability to trust others? Once you become aware of the impact, you can start to see forgiveness not as a favor to them, but as a gift to yourself. One powerful practice to support forgiveness is writing a letter to the person who hurt you. In this letter, express everything you feel: the hurt, the anger, the disappointment. Say all the things you wish you could have said, but this letter isn't for them, it's for you. You can choose to keep it, burn it, or tear it up. The act of putting your emotions into words and then physically releasing them can be deeply healing. Ultimately, forgiveness is about reclaiming your inner peace. It's about choosing to no longer carry the weight of the past on your shoulders. When you forgive, you free up emotional space for joy, love, and growth. You begin to realize that your happiness is too valuable to be held hostage by anyone's mistakes. And in that moment, you take a powerful step toward healing, wholeness, and emotional freedom. After a breakup, one of the most damaging things we tend to do is get trapped in the story we tell ourselves about what happened and what it means about us. The narrative you create around the end of a relationship shapes your healing process, your self-esteem, and your future relationships. It influences how you see yourself, whether as a victim, a failure, or someone who isn't worthy of love, or as a survivor, a learner, and a person capable of growth. Reclaiming your narrative means taking conscious control over that story and choosing one that empowers you rather than holds you captive. When relationships end, especially those where emotions ran deep, the mind naturally tries to make sense of it. Why did this happen? Was I not enough? Was it all my fault? These are the kinds of questions that can lead you down a dark path if left unchecked. The problem is, without awareness, you begin to internalize these stories, believing them as truth rather than seeing them for what they are: interpretations born from pain. The danger of these unchecked narratives is that they don't stay in the past, they follow you. They show up when you meet someone new, when you try to trust again, or when you dare to hope for happiness. The voice in your head might whisper, "Remember what happened last time? You're not good enough. Love isn't safe. People always leave." This inner dialogue isn't fact. It's a reflection of unresolved hurt. And the longer you hold on to that story, the more power it has over your future. Reclaiming your narrative starts with awareness. Begin by identifying the story you're telling yourself about the breakup. Write it down. Be honest about the conclusions you've drawn and the meaning you've attached to it. Then question it. Ask yourself, is this story fair? Is it entirely true? Is it helping me heal or keeping me stuck? Most often, you'll find that your narrative is one-sided, clouded by emotion, and in need of revision. Once you've challenged your old story, create a new one grounded in self-compassion and wisdom. Instead of framing the relationship as a mistake or a personal failure, view it as a meaningful chapter in your life that taught you valuable lessons about love, boundaries, and yourself. Recognize your growth, your resilience, and the ways you showed up for yourself in difficult moments. Focus on the strength it took to walk away or to survive the loss, and how those experiences shaped a wiser, more compassionate version of you. You are not what someone did to you. You are not the sum of one relationship's ending. You are the author of your life story, and though you may not control every event, you always control how you interpret it. By reclaiming your narrative, you shift from being a passive character in your life to an active creator of your future. And in doing so, you liberate yourself from the chains of the past and open the door to new, healthier, and more authentic experiences. One of the most overlooked but transformative steps in moving on from a past relationship is the act of shifting your focus from what you've lost to what you now have the opportunity to discover. When a relationship ends, it often leaves a noticeable void, a gap in your routine, your sense of companionship, and even your identity. It's easy to get trapped in that space of loss, replaying memories, missing the connection, and mourning what once was. But within that emptiness lies one of the most beautiful invitations life can offer: the chance to rediscover your relationships. Especially long or intense ones, can sometimes cause you to lose sight of your individuality. You compromise, you adapt, you merge routines, and you make decisions based on shared goals. While this can be healthy in a balanced partnership, it often means that certain parts of who you are, your hobbies, passions, and personal ambitions, get placed on the back burner. When the relationship ends, those neglected parts quietly resurface, waiting to be noticed. Investing in self-discovery doesn't mean filling the void with distractions or temporary fixes. It means consciously choosing to reconnect with your authentic self. Begin by reflecting on the things you once loved but perhaps stopped doing during the relationship. Was there a hobby you set aside? A creative passion you didn't have time for? Activities that brought you peace, joy, or a sense of accomplishment? These aren't just pastimes, they're pieces of your identity that deserve attention. Another aspect of self-discovery involves stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new experiences. Breakups, as painful as they are, often push you into unfamiliar emotional territory. Use that discomfort as fuel to explore parts of life you've never ventured into before. Sign up for a class you've always been curious about. Travel to a new place, learn a new skill, or immerse yourself in a community project. These experiences not only help you build new memories unconnected to your past relationship, but also remind you of your capacity to grow and evolve independently. In addition to outward activities, self-discovery requires inward exploration. Take time to understand your emotional patterns, your needs in relationships, your boundaries, and your values. Journaling, meditation, and therapy can be powerful tools for this kind of inner work. The goal is to emerge with a clearer sense of who you are, what you want, and what truly makes you feel alive, not based on someone else's influence, but rooted in your own truth. As you begin to invest in yourself this way, you'll notice something remarkable. The ache of missing your ex begins to soften, not because you've forgotten them, but because your life is no longer defined by their absence. You start to find fulfillment in your own growth and experiences. The person you become in the process is stronger, wiser, and more in tune with what you deserve. In discovering yourself again, you create a life that feels full, meaningful, and entirely yours. Healing from a past relationship isn't just about letting go. It's about consciously building a future that feels meaningful and aligned with who you are now. One of the most powerful ways to do this is by setting new intentions and goals that reflect your current values, dreams, and sense of self. After a breakup, it's easy to feel untethered, as though the plans you once made for your life have crumbled along with the relationship. But within that uncertainty lies incredible potential. You have the unique opportunity to design a future shaped not by shared compromises, but by your individual vision. When we're in a relationship, especially one that's long-term or emotionally intense, many of our goals become intertwined with another person's. Future plans are made together, whether it's traveling, career moves, family decisions, or lifestyle choices. And when that relationship ends, it can leave a sense of directionless void. But this blank slate is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's an open canvas for you to paint a new vision of your life, one that truly reflects your personal aspirations. Start by setting aside time to reflect on what you want moving forward. Think beyond relationships for a moment. What kind of person do you want to become? What experiences have you always wanted to have but postponed? What habits, values, or skills do you want to cultivate? Write them down without limiting yourself based on your past. Remember, your future is no longer tied to anyone else's plans, and that's an incredible form of freedom. Setting new intentions isn't about running away from the pain or trying to fill the space where your relationship once was. It's about shifting your focus towards growth. Intentions could be as simple as improving your physical health, committing to a morning routine, reading more books, or traveling to a place you've always dreamed of. They could also be deeper, like working on your emotional resilience, developing stronger boundaries, or practicing self-compassion. The key is to choose goals that nurture and empower you rather than distract you. As you establish these new intentions, break them down into small, actionable steps. Big goals can feel overwhelming, especially when you're still healing emotionally. Focus on daily or weekly actions that gradually build toward your larger vision. Celebrate small victories along the way, because each one is a sign that you're reclaiming your life and investing in your future. What you'll find as you commit to these new intentions is that your heartache begins to transform. The future no longer feels like a bleak continuation of loss, but rather an unfolding adventure of self-discovery. And in creating a life that excites and fulfills you, you'll naturally let go of what no longer serves you, including the emotional weight of your past relationship. In the end, the breakup becomes less of an ending and more of a turning point. A moment when you chose to redirect your energy, not into mourning what was lost, but into building what's possible. And that choice, more than anything, will set you free.